Hello, I'm Brandon with RPG Overviews, and in this video, you and I are going to take a look at a role-playing game called Adventurous. And it's available on Drive-Thru RPG in PDF and print, and as of the rest of June 2023, the PDF is on sale for 48% off. So, of course, I'll have a link down in the description and a pinned comment. If you like what you see, you can get it for $4.50 instead of $8.50. So let's take a look at it in this RPG overview. So the cover is cool. I think I've seen this filter before that's used on this art. I'm not sure exactly which one it's called, but overall this has a good look. I've already done one of my freebies for one of the products um, from this company, and I liked it. I thought it looked really good. And from what I can see for Adventurous, I think it's really neat. So we're going to go take a look through it. This is from Dawn Fist Games. Looks like we have a bunch of people from overseas that helped work on it and create it. So it's a game of perilous adventure. I wanted to introduce my friends to this fantastic hobby, but couldn't find a suitable game for us, namely a classic fantasy tabletop role-playing game that was built from the ground up for new players. A game that was easy to learn, easy to play, and easy for the game master to run. So I decided to design my own game. It took a few years, but I hope you will enjoy Adventurous as much as me and my friends have. I like the name Adventurous. I think that's pretty good. And I like this font that's used. Here we go. This is, like I said, this is a full role-playing game here, and it's got some neat mechanics. So playing the game, you can see some of that art again. Premise of the game, of course, what do you need? You need 5 six-sided dice. There you go. The core mechanic. And here we go. I like how it immediately breaks into what the core mechanic is. So, whenever a player attempts a risky, challenging, or dangerous action, he rolls a number of six-sided dice equal to the value of his relevant attribute. Okay, pretty normal. This is called an attribute test or just test. 5s and 6s count as successes. All other numbers count as blanks. So if the dice shows a 5 or a 6, it is a weak success. If the dice shows at least 2 5s or 6s, or one of each, it is a strong success. If the dice shows no 5s or 6s, it's a failure, and the PC gets 1 experience point. A failed test should never be a full stop. It should always have some sort of consequence. Read more about this below. So, weapons and abilities have their effects listed, such as W2S3, where W is a weak success and the S is a strong success, and the number is listing the effect. So, in this example, a one-handed sword deals W4S8 damage, and the ability Bless restores W3S6 health points. Rolling 4 six-sided dice and getting 1, 3, 4, and 6 would mean a weak success, and therefore you would deal 4 damage with the longsword and restore 3 health with the ability Bless. I think that's a really neat mechanic. When is a weak success enough, and when is a strong success required? The general rule is for determining whether a weak or strong success is enough to succeed at a task is to reflect on the task and ask yourself a question. Does this task require some sort of training? If the answer is yes, then a strong success is needed to succeed. For example, picking a lock or deciphering ancient runes. If no, a weak success is enough to succeed. For example, lifting a boulder or jumping across a broad chasm. This page right here is very precise. I really like it, how it just really lays out immediately how the game works and maybe a question you might have about it. So what does W3 and S6 mean? So it's short for weak 3, strong 6. I mean, I think you can immediately get this system. It's very easy. On a weak success, the effect is 3. On a strong success, the effect is 6. So you'll see a bunch of combinations. So W2S4, W3S6, so on. Smart. Some abilities and magical items have special effects that occur on what's called double 6s. This is when the dice show at least 2 6s when the test is made. Getting double 6s also grants the group 1 point of momentum, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. Lastly, double 6s also grant 1 experience point. And a failed test always leads to something. There's some sort of severe consequences. Pretty normal stuff. Again, I like the layout of this book. You got advantage and disadvantage. Here we go with this, which is fine. Magical effects and scenarios might give the character advantage and disadvantage on their rolls. Advantage, roll one extra die up to a total of 66. Disadvantage, roll one less die, but never fewer than 1d6. And multiple counts of advantage and disadvantage do not stack. And then, of course, it's going to talk about that, about advantage and disadvantage. Then we're going to talk about momentum. So momentum is something you either have, the party has, or they don't have. Okay? And it can be used to reroll dice or activate certain magic items. Momentum well spent can truly turn the tide of battle or difficult situation. But keep in mind that overconfidence is a slow and insidious killer. So a player can choose to spend the party's momentum when making a test to reroll one die, or to activate certain magic items. A player makes a strength test and rolls 3, 4, and 5. He then spends momentum to reroll the 3. The new roll of 6 results in a 6, and thus changing the outcome of the test from a weak success to a strong success. Very neat. And of course, magical items, it'll be in the description whether or not it has it. Momentum cannot be used by a PC that is reduced to 0 hit points and is bleeding out. Momentum can be used on, it says KNO test, which we'll read about, when initiative is in combat is established. If momentum is used to reroll a die and the new result is double sixes, the party once again gains momentum. Very cool. So it talks about the binary state of it. You either have it or you don't. And it'll last until the party rests in any capacity. This is true for a 5-minute break as well as a rest for the night. Stopping breaks the flow and thus breaks momentum. I like that because it's going to make you use it before you rest. It's going to be something that you're going to hopefully get back multiple times in a day's adventure. And certain attacks can drain momentum, such as evil magic and dark magic, can hurt both the character's health and the player's pool of momentum. So I think that's very smart. You've got 5 attributes: strength, dexterity, willpower, knowledge, and charisma. Here's an example of play. Very easy. Again, I'm a big fan of this layout. The font is nice. And then we've got character creation. So you're going to have your name, gender, and age, race, class, attributes, character description, and starting equipment. Again, this is very much a lightweight game that seems fully fleshed out, and a good alternative to a game, I would say, like, Labyrinth Lord or White Box or something like that. So here's everything you're going to do for making your character. Your name, your race, human, elf, or dwarf, gender or age, and then the class of your character, such as warrior or rogue. Your character's current value in each of the 5 attributes, ranging from 1 to 5. Of course, a portrait of your character. Of course, that's always fun and funny to do with people. Description, your coins, armor points, health points. I like how stuff is in bold here. That's very good. It's going to be ranging from 0 to 10 health points. And let's go on ahead to the next part. So here's the character sheet. And I like that they've gone ahead and shown you what needs to go where. As you can see, you look here, you can see your character's name, number 1. I always like that in a book. And the character sheet looks good. It looks real strong. And you've got your races. You've got humans. I'll give you some choices of some names. Dwarves, elves, and then you're going to have your classes. A primary attribute is used to make tests when activating one of the class's 3 abilities. You should focus on improving the primary attribute of your class in order to make sure you can use your abilities to great effect. Then you have a class feature. Each class has a distinct feature that is always available to them. The class feature is closely tied to the classic image of the class, such as the thief's feature, which gives it advantage when sneaking or picking locks, or the paladin's feature, which gives advantage on charisma tests when ordering hirelings. So you've got abilities, and you're going to have 3 types of abilities: at will, once per encounter, and daily. Obviously, this kind of definitely reminds me of 4th edition D&D. And then you're going to have talents. So during your career as an adventurer, you'll be able to unlock 3 out of 6 talents. Some talents alter your abilities, others give you completely new abilities, and some alter other aspects of your class. So very good in, as your character goes up, unlocking these things. So let's go ahead and let's look at the warrior. There's the art. I like how it just tells you very easily about its strength and what you are and what you do. So you've got feats of strength. You've got abilities. It's going to be a whirlwind. It's going to be your at will. The charge ability is going to be once per encounter, and then you have a rage ability. And then you're going to unlock these talents: weapon master, shield wall, war cry, armor master, barbarian, and mind of steel. Here's the rogue. They get a Sinister Strike, a Smoke Bomb, and a Vanish. Very cool. And then you're going to be able to unlock talents: Silk Touch, Poison Bomb, Dodge, Puncture, and Poison Weapons. And then you have the Wizard. They have Ancient Knowledge as a feature. They can cast Fireball, Spectral Hand, and Mind Control. And then they'll get some talents such as Overcharge. On double sixes, your fireball deals 10 damage to one target or 6 damage to all creatures close to the target location. There's Illusion, Free Mind. You gain advantage on all will tests while wearing no armor. Frost Nova, Levitation, and Counterspell. This really runs the gambit of kind of a jack of all trades wizard here with their abilities. Then you've got the Paladin. They have the Hammer of Justice as their at will, their Holy Shield, and then they're Lay on Hands. So their talents are Holy Smite, Retribution, Martyrdom, Aura, Holy Wrath, and Divine Touch. Then you've got the Hunter. They have a Hell of Arrows, an Elemental Trap, and a Spirit Animal. They can summon a Spirit Wolf to a location close to you. It follows your command. Your talents: Eagle Eye, double sixes when making a regular attack with a missile weapon. Your attack has one of the following effects you choose: deal +2 damage, make the target stuck, or make the target drop whatever it's holding. Very cool. I like the double sixes thing. It's kind of a thing that helps fuel extra abilities and cool things to go off in your game. You got Deadly Hail, Dire Wolf. Your spirit becomes a dire wolf now. Tactical Retreat, Mending Touch, and Camouflage. You've got the Cleric, of course, Holy Bolt, Shield of Faith, and Bless. And their talents are going to be things such as Orb of Light, Ward, Judgment, and Inner Fire. The Warlock. So we've got a lot of classes for this game. Soul Sacrifice. By sacrificing a sliver of your soul, you gain the ability to reroll 1 dice in any situation. The sacrifice causes you to lose 2 hit points, does not require an action, and can only be used once per day. Their abilities are Shadow Bolt, Curse of Weakness, and Demon. You summon a demon twice the size of a man of black stone and purple flames at a location close or near to you. Their talents are Shadow Power, Siphon Life, Corruption, Demonic Armor, Immolation, and Shadow Blade. The Druid, Growth Spurt. Once per day you can make a plant or tree grow to 10 years in 10 seconds by laying your hands on it. That's very cool. Their abilities are Entangling Roots, Shapeshift, and Healing Mist. Their talents are Poison Splash, Swipe, Druidic Power, Power of the Wild, Bark Skin, and Animal Form. So here we go to the character creation. That's a good bit of character classes. I was impressed by that. So during your character creation, your character stats starts with a score of 1 in all attributes. You then spend an additional 5 points to your attributes. You can allocate these as you desire. Your starting attributes can look something like the examples before, and I would probably just pick one of those. And then you're going to advance your attributes. Advancing in level will help you, of course, get more new attribute points. Describing your character. I like the fact that it gives you examples of that. Some people have difficulty doing that. So it could be sometimes one of the hardest things. Give your character inspiration, the tales of inspiration. Maybe they have a booming voice, no fingernails, gold front tooth, piercing green eyes, or broken nose. Here's your starting equipment. They've got kits, and all the kits start with 25 coins, such as the Adventurer kit. It's going to give you a one-handed melee weapon, a bow, a light armor, 4 supplies, and then the Scholar. So, of course, I like kits. That's very easy and helpful for new players just to grab that and say, this is what my character would have. It's going to explain about gaining experience points. Of course, whenever a character fails a test or rolls double sixes, it receives one experience point. In order to reach level 2, a character needs 3 experience points. The amount of experience points needed to level up increases for every new level reached, of course. Only call for tests in important situations. There's a section here on risk and reward and increasing your level. So here we go. Level 2, your total experience is going to be 3. You gain 1 attribute point to spend, and you choose 1 talent. Level 3, you get 8. It takes you 8 experience points. Gain 1 attribute point to spend. Choose a talent. It's all the same there. And then you're going to go level 4. You're going to need 16. And level 5, you're going to need 25. Gain 2 attribute points to spend. You could get very lucky and get a lot of experience points and really fly through this level system. And of course, you can always change this total experience that you need if you find that might be happening. And then here we go on combat. Initiative. Your combat starts when all players make a knowledge test. All PCs that succeed act before their opponent. All PCs who fail their knowledge test act after their opponent. Pretty easy. Action, move, your distances, close, near, far, distant. You've seen a lot of this stuff in newer role-playing games. Just talking about range and reach here. You've got attacking and defending. So the attack has 3 potential outcomes. So what's going to happen is you make an attribute test with the correct attributes: strength and melee, dex with ranged weapons, and will with most magical abilities. If it's a strong success, the attack deals strong damage or have the strong effect of the ability used. If it's weak, obviously use the weak one, and fail, you miss and have no effect. And when the player characters are attacked, when the player makes an attribute test to defend. Of course, it's going to be kind of the same thing. So this is player facing, which a lot of games are doing now. So that's going to be helpful to keep everybody involved. And then you have your dealing damage, which is going to involve that weak and that strong attacks for your weapons. And you're going to subtract the victim's armor points from the damage value, and the result is the actual damage. Pretty easy. However, an attack that hits always deals at least 1 point of damage. Maximum armor points. The maximum armor points a PC can have is 3, regardless of their combination of armor, shield, and magical effects. You've got massive damage. Whenever a creature makes an attack that would likely deal massive damage, the rule of massive damage applies. Massive damage means the creature will deal double damage. Double weak or double strong, depending on the outcome of the test. I really like this weak and strong thing. I think that's very smart. Here's your rules for missile weapons, throwing your weapon, different fighting styles. I like that a lot. Taking cover, everything you need to know here about the different conditions you may have. Armor durability. Armor and shields have durability after combat encounter ends. All PCs who took damage roll a d6. On a 5 or 6, the armor and shield is unharmed. On a 1 to 4, it takes 1 point of durability damage. If an armor or shield reaches 0 durability, it breaks. It needs repairing. Spend 1 supply in 20 minutes repairing it before it can offer protection. Again, kind of the same thing with ammo. And then you've got rules for sneaks and sneak attacks. NPC reactions, you're going to do that on a d6. And then morale, health and injuries. All player characters have 10 health points and can never have more than this. Current hit points are tracked by writing them down in the heart on the character sheet. So you can bleed out, you can be wounded, you'll have disadvantage. And then there's some critical injuries you may get. Here's rules for rest and recovery. You have camping, which is obviously camping out in the wild. You need to have a tent, a good safe location to get a good night's rest. You get d6 hit points out when camping, but do not recover from wounded status. In order to gain the benefit of camping, all PCs need food and water for that day. I like that. This can be achieved by either using 1 supply or by spending 6 hours to forage for food and water. Proper rest at an inn or a home after eating a cooked meal, not rations. This restores all hit points and PCs recover from their wounded status. I just love this. I love anything that makes you actually eat food, rest, and recuperate the way you should. Here's the thing for inventory slots here. You've got normal, large, and bulky, so it's going with a slot system, which is very easy. All items a character carries with it are written down in these 8 slots, as they have a capacity is limited to those 8 slots. Here's equipment and services. So here you can see what's the grip of the weapon. Is it one-handed or two-handed? The damage, how much slots it takes up, and the price. Very easy. And it gives you examples of some of those weapons as they're broken down by type. Armor and shields, how many armor points, what's the durability. So obviously very low. And you could have an effect such as heavy armor. All dex tests are at disadvantage. And shield bearers can take the cover action. Other gear and supplies, donkey horse, alchemy kit, tent, crowbar, a whole bunch of stuff to choose from. Here's some more stuff about supplies are an abstract collection of common adventuring items such as rope, torches, rations, and ammunition. It says whenever a character needs a common adventuring item, he declares what he needs, and the game master determines if the item can be classified as common adventuring gear. If the PC approves, the player spends 1 supply and gains the use of the item. I like it a lot. And you can find supplies maybe in chests, looted corpses, barrels, and crates. So you just get supplies. I like that. It's kind of an abstract thing that you can then use. Here's rules for food, water, and exhaustion. You've got common services and how much they cost. Magical items and potions. You have to identify magical items. You attune to magical items. To gain the benefit of a magical item, the wielder must first attune to the magical spirit that lives within the item. Attuning and breaking attunement takes roughly 10 minutes to concentrate in prayer. A PC can attune to magical items equal in number to their charisma score. So using charisma as a way to work with magical items. So here's a bunch of different magical items right here. Very cool. And then we've got some curse items. So those are not great. Obviously, we don't want those. Potions and poisons, gathering ingredients. And they break them down such as fragrant, sweet, sour, abstract, pungent, and where they might grow. And then here's a whole thing about brewing potions and poisons. So like a healing potion, the effect is heal 3 hit points and fail, disadvantage on the next test. effect success is heal 5 hit points, and then the ingredient is sweet. So I like the way that they've broken down these ingredients into certain categories, and that's all you need in order to create these magic potions. Very smart. There's random treasure tables here that you can roll up. As you can see, social interactions and hirelings, always a great section, step by step. Your hiring limit with your charisma, paying for your hirelings. And here's some available ones for you, such as a defender, inexperienced or veteran, woodsman, treasure hunter, scholar, porter. And here's a section on dungeons and the wild. Is it going to have everything you need for dungeon moves, times and encounters, rolling the encounter die, reading the dice. To determine the outcome of the roll, count the number of ones and twos and refer to the table below. It could be stress, it could be dangers approaching, maybe immediately there's an encounter or there's a big setback. Those could be like the quarter collapsing, the floor collapsing. This is smart. I really like it. Here's a section here on light and dark places and how that affects you, resting in a dungeon, traveling in the wild, how long it is, the travel speed, fair versus difficult terrain, food and water, building the journal dice pool. To determine how a journey goes, I'm sorry, I said journal, it's incorrect. It's building the journey dice pool. To determine how a journey goes, the GM and the players answer the questions below and builds a pool of d6s based on the answers. How long is the journey? Short, 1 die. Long is 2 dice. Will the journey pass through difficult terrain? If yes, add 1 die. The maximum number of dice the pool can contain is 6, as seen in the example. So once the journey dice pool has been built, it's time to roll it. The GM rolls all the dice in the pool and looks for any 1s and 2s, and then consults the event table below to determine what happens during the journey. It could be a hazard, an encounter. If you get 3 or more, first a hazard, then an encounter, they happen on the same day. You roll it for hazards. Maybe when traversing a ravine, the scout trips and falls, taking 4 damage, ignores armor, and injures a leg, gaining disadvantage. So this is very smart, and here's the way to roll up 4 encounters as well. Obviously, they're going to be situational, may not really work with where you're at. And then here we've got our bestiary here. Creature hit points, armor points, random attacks, and I really like the way these stat blocks look. This is great. I'd love to see a selection of cards that have this information on there because it's just really nicely laid out here. It's got their abilities and equipment. It's got their attacks, and you can roll a d6. And so on a 1, it's going to be a disarming strike. On a 2, it's going to be a gushing wound. And then obviously the more normal one is just going to be a weapon attack. So again, rolling low, which very much reminds me of my own Pocket Fantasy game because I have a lot of that. It's going to be the worst attacks that are going to affect you. So you've got their hit points up there in the top left, and you've got their armor. Very easy. Here's a thug poacher, evil sorcerer, city guard, guard captain. And then we've got animals. Wolf, giant rat, giant spider, bear, giant bat, bat matriarch, goblins, all different types there. We've got orcs. We've got ogres, cool art, undead. That's a terrible piece of art, by the way. Just brutal looking dude. He needs to be smashed. Somebody do that for me, please. White, looks great. Death Knight, Lich, nasty. Fantastical creatures, Manicore, Minotaur, Chimera, Giant Slime, Troll. So it's got a whole gambit of everything you need. Wyvern, dragons and worms. Look at the stats for these dragons. Oof, nasty. But rolling the d6, you're going to have everything from Fire Breath to Taking Flight, Tail Sweep, Fireball, its Roar, and its Bite. I really like that. Making a die roll that says what type attack it uses. Very nice. And then you've got this whole thing here. You've got a whole chapters detailing a campaign setting, the Westlands. I'm going to tell you an overview of them, obviously, some different places. Rumor table for the Westlands. Going to help you kind of get your start. And a great looking map here is going to get you going too. And then a section here on the Game Master. So they could have just stopped here and just said, oh, hand wave this. People probably know what it is, but this is a game that's probably great for new players. So it's going to break down a lot of stuff like this. The value of weird, opposed test versus players, having a hard time improvising, try the Oracle. And it's got an Oracle system. When a situation arises where the players ask for information that you don't have, just roll 1 6-sided dice and let fate decide. The idea is that based on the outcome of the roll, the answer is to the player's question is more or less favorable. So you've got it right here. 1 to 2 is negative for the PCs, 3 to 4 is neutral, 5 to 6 is positive. And that also kind of reminds me a little bit of Pocket Fantasy. How to build a great adventure in 5 steps. The hook, fork, obstacles, threats, and resolution. And then a great example adventure using those things. Running adventures. Describe the world in threes. An effective method of accomplishing this is to always describe at least 3 things when setting up scenes for the players. So like example 1, the game master. You enter a long hallway full of spider webs. The hall is lit with torches and water drips slowly from the roof. So this is not the only method of painting a living and breathing world, but it's easy to remember the number 3 and work at always find at least 3 things to describe to the players. Very handy information here. Don't worry if a player dies. Avoid coins as reward. Think about things such as titles, single-use magical items, land, membership, and fame. I like that rule as well. Here's a section on designing good traps, what type mechanism it is. I like that. Make them obvious. Clearly telegraph traps. Use the hints listed below as inspiration. Describe the area and the hints in detail. So here you go. Maybe different types of mechanism or the effect. Maybe it's slashing or piercing. What's the hint? Doesn't match the pattern. Traces of effect, odd material, juts or recedes, damage to structure. And then combat advice. Great little section here on that. Have the battle take place somewhere interesting. Add time as an element to your combat encounters. This was all a section I was like, wow, this is really nice to have all this, especially for new players or someone that's, they're just now getting into role-playing games. Maybe they've played a couple, but this is going to help them. Talking about non-combat challenges and controlling the difficulty. When to call for a weak or strong success. Using multiple attribute tests. And the consequences thereof. So here's a couple things here, like deciphering ancient runes and the consequences. How to make interesting NPCs. They have a goal, a fear, and a quirk. Here's some stuff that you could possibly roll up. Remembering physics. I like that. Monsters are not stupid. What attribute should I test? Very smart to have this. Helpful. Bribe a guard. Charisma. Walk a tightrope. Dexterity. Maybe something that, of course, you know and you don't need, but for new players and stuff and new people running this, it's going to be very, very helpful. Agree on the tone and the setting. Don't over-prepare. Have a GM screen or cheat sheet. Never let the game stall. Great advice. All this is great advice. The secret to interesting villains. Don't forget to have fun. And here's an index, which I'm glad this is in there, to let you know, and the page number for where all this stuff is. Very helpful. This book, I'm going to go ahead and tell you right now, this book is great. I really like what I'm seeing from it. I like the way it looks. I wish I had it in print for you. I don't. That could possibly change. Of course, I've already done this video, but this seems like a really neat game. Again, we have the GM cheat sheet, the core mechanic, initiative, NPC reactions, and then the Oracle, dungeon exploration, critical injuries, and then here's that great character sheet. I think it looks fantastic. Really nicely done. As you can see, there's the back side of it there. And then there's that map. It's kind of split in the PDF like that. And then thank you, very much so. And here's the back. Adventurous is cool. I'm really, really glad that, once again, someone reached out to me about this and let me know about it. After I did the video on their little adventure they did, they've done a smash-up job with this. It probably needs a video like this to let people see it. So I'm glad to be able to do this and spend the time to do it. If this is something you're interested in, let me know what you think. If you pick it up, or of course you pick up the PDF or whatever. If you play it, let me know what you think about it. I think this is a real contender for a really cool game that could really have some legs to it. So there it is, Adventurous. There's everything you get with it. And it's just jam-packed full of stuff that's really, really helpful. And it looks a lot like a lot of fun. So there it is, Adventurous, fantasy role-playing game. Good job on this. I've got more videos coming, a lot more. Thanks for subscribing. Please like, share it with your friends and stuff. Let people know about this game. This could be something that your buddies, somebody in your, a community group or something like that, some sort of social media. This might be a game that's right up their alley, especially if they don't have a lot of experience with role-playing games. This can get them up and going with a great GM section to help them along if they're going to run it. So there it is, Adventurous. Thanks a lot.